Hey there, before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our community, because today, we're about to uncover something truly extraordinary. Something that could change the way you look at coins forever. You're about to discover a story that stretches from a small, unassuming coin in your pocket all the way to a staggering value that might surprise even the most seasoned collectors. Now, let's step back in time for a moment. Imagine South Africa in 1960. The world was shifting, history was in the making, and amidst all this, a tiny 1/2 penny coin quietly made its debut. Small, coppery, almost overlooked by most people, but it carried within it a story, a craftsmanship, and a connection to a moment in history that few fully appreciate today. At first glance, it seems like just another coin. A halfpenny, easy to overlook, right? But for those who know the world of numismatics, the study of coins, this coin is anything but ordinary. It represents an era, a culture, and a time in South African history that many today only read about in textbooks. The way it was minted, the design etched onto its surface, the sheer rarity of finding one in pristine condition, these are what make it extraordinary. And it's exactly these details that seasoned collectors have been hunting for decades. Picture this. You're holding it in your hand. The smooth edges, the subtle copper shine, the precise embossing, everything about it whispers craftsmanship, precision, and a history lesson in miniature. This coin isn't just currency, it's a piece of heritage, a fragment of a nation's story frozen in metal. For men of our generation, who remember handling coins and seeing the value in tangible things, it resonates even more. There's something satisfying about holding something real, something that has survived decades, something that witnessed history quietly but steadfastly, and that's where the fascination begins. Collecting coins isn't just about money. It's about respect for history, attention to detail, and the thrill of discovery. It's about knowing that what may appear small and insignificant to one person could be a hidden treasure to another. A coin like the 1960 South African 1/2 penny might have passed through thousands of hands, traveled countless miles, yet here it is, waiting for the right person to recognize its true value. The design itself tells a story. The symbols, the minting process, even the choice of metal reflect a period when craftsmanship and precision mattered deeply. Back then, a coin wasn't just a means of exchange. It was a statement, a token that carried pride, culture, and an identity that modern mass-produced coins rarely capture. And collectors, especially those who have spent decades studying coins, understand that the value of such a coin isn't only in its age or rarity, but in the story it holds. Now, think about how the market has changed over the years. Once upon a time, a coin like this might have been considered trivial, something you could find in your change without a second thought. But as decades passed, history became more tangible, and the collector's world grew more sophisticated. Today, a coin like the 1961 halfpenny is no longer just a simple piece of metal. It is a marker of history, a collector's dream, and for those who know where to look, potentially a ticket to serious financial value. And here's the part that really grabs attention, the rarity. Not every coin survives time in good condition. Most are lost, worn out, or discarded. But the ones that do survive, especially those in near-perfect condition, are incredibly sought after. They represent a window into a world that existed over 60 years ago. They're tangible pieces of history that you can hold in your hand, study, and even pass down as a legacy. And when collectors find one in excellent condition, it sends shockwaves through the numismatic community. You see, men of our generation, we've always had an eye for quality, for things that hold value beyond the obvious. And that's exactly why coins like this capture our imagination. It's about more than money. It's about being part of something bigger, connecting with history, and owning a piece of a story that will never be repeated. And let's not forget the thrill of the hunt. Hunting for rare coins, studying their features, understanding their imperfections. There's a satisfaction in it that few hobbies can match. For decades, collectors have sought coins like the 1960 South African 1/2 penny, and the excitement of finally holding one is something words barely capture. It's the adrenaline of discovery, the pride of possession, and the acknowledgement that you've found something truly special. Now, you might be wondering, after all this history, all this story, what's the actual value? This isn't just about nostalgia or curiosity. This is about something tangible, something that can truly surprise you. You might not believe it at first, but the 1960 South African 1/2 penny, in the right condition, has been valued at an astonishing figure, $8 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $8 million for a coin that most would have overlooked in their pocket change decades ago. That's the power of rarity, the magic of history, and the value of careful preservation. So, what does this teach us? It reminds us that treasures often hide in the most unexpected places. That history, when preserved, can hold unimaginable value. That something small, seemingly insignificant, can become something extraordinary if you know its story and respect its journey. So next time you come across an old coin, don't just glance at it, study it. Appreciate the design, understand its history, and consider what stories it might hold. Because you never know when you might be holding the next coin that will astonish the world, just like the 1960 South African 1/2 penny. And who knows, you might be the one to uncover a piece of history worth millions. Remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss another story like this. The world of coins is full of surprises, and you'll want to be the first to hear about them. History, wealth, and discovery are just waiting for the curious and the persistent. Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay with us, because today we are diving into the story of a coin so small, so easily overlooked, yet so powerful in history and value that it could change the way you look at pocket change forever. This isn't just about a 1/2 cent from 1961 South Africa. This is about uncovering the hidden treasures that most people walk past, spent without thinking, or tossed into jars for decades. But right here, right now, we are going to bring this tiny piece of copper to life in a way you've never heard before. Imagine holding a coin that once cost practically nothing to mint, a coin that could slip through your fingers like dust. A 1/2 cent. Most people didn't give it a second glance. It was too small to matter, too ordinary to admire. But for men who lived through changing governments, shifting borders, and the quiet fading of old symbols, this coin wasn't just currency. It was a marker of a time, a sign of a country transforming itself. Many of you watching right now lived during those years or grew up hearing stories from fathers and grandfathers who remembered how South Africa looked and felt in the early 1960s. And if you're between 55 and 65 or older, you know exactly how objects from that era can pull memories from places nothing else can reach. Picture that moment in 1961 when the country officially shifted from Union to Republic. New flags, new stamps, and yes, new coins. For the first time, the 1/2 cent carried the young republic's identity. A bold announcement struck into metal. It wasn't loud and shiny like a gold coin. It wasn't heavy like the large silver pieces collectors chase. But it had something rare: timing. It was born at a moment of change, and objects born in transition often become symbols of history rather than just pieces of money. And yet, the 1/2 cent quietly disappeared over the years. Inflation rose. People laughed at the idea of keeping such a tiny denomination. Children used them more as toys than currency. Men carried them in their pockets without even noticing when they fell out between couch cushions or disappeared into old tins. Most were lost, melted, or simply forgotten. But what happens to an object when almost everyone forgets about it? It becomes rare. And when something becomes rare, it becomes valuable. And when it becomes valuable, it becomes powerful. Now imagine you find one. Maybe in an old drawer. Maybe in a box of keepsakes you inherited. Maybe at a flea market where the seller barely notices what is giving away. You pick it up, and suddenly this tiny piece of copper isn't just a coin anymore. It's a doorway to a moment in time. It's a reminder of men who built families, work hard, lived through change, and carried these little coins as part of everyday life. And that, right there, is the magic of old money. Not the shine. Not the weight. The story. Collectors today aren't just buying coins, they're buying history you can hold. They're buying rarity, survival, and the emotional pull that comes from objects linked to the past. And when a coin from 1961 has survived all these years without scratches, stains, corrosion, or wear, when it still looks almost exactly the way it looked fresh from the mint, that's when collectors start paying attention. That's when the value begins to climb. Not slowly, but sharply. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a collector's auction room. The lights bright, the hum of excitement in the air. People from around the world watching, waiting, hoping. A 1/2 cent coin appears on screen. Tiny. Simple. Copper. The crowd leans in. They know something the average person doesn't. Rarity isn't measured by size. Value isn't measured by weight. It's measured by the number of survivors, the condition they're in, and the story they carry. And this particular coin, this half-cent of 1961, has all three. Now imagine the bidding. Numbers climbing higher than any ordinary person would believe possible for something so small. Collectors pushing the price, each one trying to be the last hand raised. And before anyone can catch their breath, the hammer falls. Silence. Shock. A whisper runs through the room. History has been made. That half-cent has done the impossible, because rarity, history, and perfect preservation can turn even the smallest coin into a giant, and that brings us to what you've been waiting for. After all the years this coin spent forgotten, after surviving when most didn't, after carrying the story of a country in transition, after becoming a symbol of what collectors treasure most, the highest known value placed on a flawless example of the 1961 South Africa half-center reached an unbelievable figure.
Hello everyone, before we dive into today's treasure hunt, make sure to hit subscribe and press the bell icon so you never miss one of these fascinating coin stories. Today we are uncovering the mystery behind a coin that might look humble but carries history, the 1 half-cent from South Africa, dated 1963. This isn't just a scrap of brass, it's a window into an era, a puzzle for collectors, and potentially something more than mere pocket change. Let's walk through what makes this coin compelling, how you can spot its details, and finally, what it's really worth today. Picture the world in the early 1960s, South Africa, just past the shift to decimal currency, introducing new coins and phasing out old ones. The 1 half-cent was part of that first decimal series, in circulation between 1961 and 1964. Wikipedia +1 in 1963, about 11,615,025 of these pieces were minted. OnlineCoin.club, that's a substantial number, but for collectors, condition, rarity, and story can elevate even common coins into something intriguing. Let's zoom in on its design. On the obverse, front side, you'll see the portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, the Dutch colonial administrator often credited as a founder figure for Cape Town. Surrounding that portrait is the bilingual motto, Unity is Strength /Indreg Mock MAG, OnlineCoin.club +1. Turn it over, and the reverse reveals 2 Cape sparrows perched together, an elegant motif, with the date 1963 above and 1/2 C below, flanked by decorative rosettes. N.Veronum.com +3 OnlineCoin.club +3 Manstack.com +3 The coin is made of brass, weighs approximately 5.60 g, and has a diameter close to 25.5 mm. N.Veronum.com +1 The edge is smooth. N.Veronum.com +1 What's particularly interesting is that in 1963, in addition to the standard circulating mintage, a small number of proof specimens were struck, about 4,025 units. OnlineCoin.club that gives proof versions a slight boost in rarity if preserved well. When it comes to value, though, this coin tends to fall in the modest but meaningful category. In widely known coin catalogs, the 1963 half-cent in average circulated condition fetches around $1.19. N.Veronum.com +2 OnlineCoin.club +2 Broader listings show a range from about 40 cents up to $6.26, depending on condition, uncirculated, very fine, etc. En.Veronum.com So while it's not a jackpot coin in most cases, it's far from worthless. Some online listings have circulated coins priced at around 4.90 South African rand, which is roughly a few US in today's exchange rates. Bobshop.company ZA +2 Bobshop.company ZA +2 Now, why would someone pay more than face value? Because of condition, rarity, and appeal. If you have one in uncirculated condition with crisp details, no wear, original luster intact, it can command a premium. A proof specimen, properly graded and preserved, will be even more coveted among collectors. Also, sometimes coins carry small anomalies, like slight dye variations, mint errors, or unusual toning, that can push value further for the right buyer. These quirks give numismatists something extra to investigate. Here's how to assess your coin. Examine wear, look at high relief areas, Van Riebeeck's hair, the sparrow's feathers. If those are worn flat, the coin is circulated and less valuable. Check for marks or scratches. Surface damage, cleaning, or scratches can hurt its collector value. Inspect the edges. True smooth edges should be unbroken, not nicked or filed. Original color and luster. If the brass still shines gently, without unnatural polishing, that's a good sign. Look for proof quality. Proof coins are often struck sharply, with mirror-like fields and frosted devices. If you ever want a definitive evaluation, consider sending it to a reputable grading service or consulting a trusted coin dealer. They'll factor in things like strike quality, appeal, authenticity, and market demand. Now, here's something to capture your imagination. Suppose you came across a rare find, a 1963 half-cent in pristine, uncirculated grade or an exceptional proof specimen. In such a case, this little coin could transcend its modest roots and become a prize collectible. The thrill of discovering a gem amid everyday coins is part of what drives numismatists. To wrap up, this coin speaks of a time when currency was transitioning, craftsmanship was more tactile, and every detail mattered. Even with millions struck, today each surviving specimen carries a story and potential. And finally, what is this coin's value today in the market I just surveyed? In many cases, a good condition example sells for around $15 to $20, depending on region, buyer interest, shipping, and demand. That's a nice return for a coin many would dismiss as small change.